to this special conference, TTS 2020. We hope you are enjoying these conferences as we are doing. My name is Daniel Ramirez Solis. I'm going to assist our today's speaker, and I will help you to read the questions. This conference has been organized by Sección de Idiomas, Facultad de Humanidades, USAC, also by Embassy of the United States in Guatemala, and also by Asociación de Jóvenes Ex Becarios del Departamento de Estado AGEDE. Some instructions, okay, some instructions. We will answer your questions, okay, 10 minutes before we finish the conference. And also we invite you to subscribe to our channels, Idiomas USAC and TTS Conferences. Now I'm going to read the academic resume of our invited lecturer, and he's very young, and she is very young, and she is Abigail Lourdes Galicia Lopez. She was born in Guatemala City on June 28, 1999. She got graduated from high school at Instituto Nacional para Señoritas Centroamérica, INCA. From 2013 to 2014, she got into the English Access Micro Scholarship Program from the United States Embassy, and in 2015, she got to the SEAL Scholarship Program from the Embassy as well to become an English teacher. She has been working as a volunteer in AGEDE since 2017. She has taught English to teenagers and adults since 2016. In 2017, she took the TAC and Best Practices in TESOL courses from World Learning to become an international English teacher. And in 2019, she got the initial ITOT training of trainers course to become a trainer of English teachers. She is currently working in a program from the Ministry of Education and the Embassy of the United States through Millennium Challenge Corporation as trainer of English teachers. And she is in the 7th semester studying PEM in English at San Carlos University. So welcome, Abigail. The time is all yours.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for this amazing introduction. I'm very glad to be here sharing with all of you. Thank you for joining to this online TTS 2020 for the very first time. And let's start. I hope that all of you are well. All right. Okay, so some recommendations for this session. First is to eliminate distractions. Take notes. Yeah, you can take notes, but remember that this session will be recorded. Please participate and also enjoy. So task-based learning, that's the approach I'm going to be sharing with you. Personally, this is one of my favorite approaches, and I'm going to explain you a little bit about it, but also I'm going to share with you about my experience with this approach. I hope that you can get the best out of this. So probably you have heard about it, probably not. And well, TBL, task-based learning, or TBL, offers a change from the grammar practice routines through which many learners have previously failed to learn to communicate. It encourages learners experiment with whatever English they can recall to try things out without fear or failure and public correction, and to take active control of their own learning, both in and outside class. Interesting, huh? Okay, so goals of this session is first to understand how TBL works and also to apply a criteria that I'll be sharing with you. So what is task-based learning? I want you to think about it. Think about 5 words that come into your mind when you think of task-based learning, okay? And you're going to be sharing these 5 words in the link that my host will be sharing with you in the box of comments. So please go to Answer Garden, and there you can write the 5 words that come into your mind when you listen to task-based learning. Are you ready? Okay, cool. So you're gonna start writing there 5 words that come into your mind when you listen to task-based learning, okay? I'll write, for example, to communicate. Communicate or communication could be. Okay, so we have here organization, objectives, funny, okay. Interesting. Right? Can you see more there? I'm gonna write activities. Wow, have more there. Planning, creation, motivation, improvement, communication, very good. Okay, homework, clear objectives, process, steps. Okay, very interesting. Planning, creation. Okay, just gonna copy it so that we can see more there. Wow, work together, fun, responsibility, knowledge, organization. Okay, keep going. Right. Okay, cool. Practice, clear objectives, productive results, review. Okay, let's just write there so that we can see more. Okay, process, plan. Perfect. Okay. Great, everyone. Okay, let's come back here. And yeah, most of the words that you mentioned, they're actually part of TBL. And here have a brief description for all of you. And it says, TBL is a different way to teach languages. Learning takes place through completion of meaningful tasks that resemble real life situations where communication is essential. I want you to please focus on the words that are involved. Completion of meaningful tasks, real life, and communication. Okay, so keep those words in mind. And now, when you teach, do you focus on form or do you focus on language? If you don't know what focusing on form or language is, here have some characteristics for you to identify, okay? So focus on form is teacher's initiative and needs. Outside the context of the communicative task, teacher provides what students need and is teacher centered. Okay. And focus on language is students' initiative and needs. Take into account the context of communicative tasks. Students explore what they need and is student center. Okay. So think about it for 1 minute or less and identify. Probably I focus on form when I'm teaching, or I focus on language when I'm teaching. Okay. So you can answer over here in the box of comments so we can see some of your answers. Focus on form or do you focus on language? Okay, right? Very good. Now, I'm going to explain you this with a very nice analogy. And I hope you like it too. So this is learning to drive. Okay. So imagine if you just study the road rules and the instruction manual for the car, would you then be able to drive? What about if you learn to drive by actually driving? Interesting, right? Like most of us, we've learned to drive by driving, but not really by focusing on the manual of the car or by the road rules. So, task based learning is based on it. So, students learn here a language by using it rather than by studying its different components in isolation, right? So, okay, cool. Now, task activities are usually rich in language here in task-based learning, involving a wide variety of writing, listening, and speaking. And a task can be something that you do alone or that you do with someone else or in a group. Language areas as well as the skills reading, listening, and speaking. So task-based learning, like sometimes when you think about communication, like the word that comes into our mind is probably oral communication, right? But task-based learning focuses on the four skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So if task-based learning is focused on the completion of tasks, what is a task? According to Peter Keehan, if I'm not pronouncing wrong his last name, I'm sorry. Here we have four things to take into consideration when we choose a task for task-based learning. Okay, so number one is meaning is primary. Here we're not focusing on vocabulary, pronunciation, or grammar. We're focusing more on the meaning of the task itself, all right? Then we have a communicative problem needs to be solved in this task. Number three is that there is a link with the real world task. And the last one, the task is assessed in terms of outcomes. The most important thing here is the communication, not really accuracy or vocabulary or pronunciation, all right? Have you seen this type of activities in your notebooks, like the books, in your books, sorry, the books that you use to teach? Have you seen this type of activities? Work in pairs, make a conversation like this. A says, is there a pen in the back? B says, no, there is none. A says, are there any books in the back? B says, yes, there are. And then change roles. Okay, so say yes or no if you have seen this kind of activities or tasks in your books, in the books that you use to teach. Okay, so I want to see some of you answering yes or no. Okay, right? Review just cool. Okay, perfect. And I'm not saying that these type of the activities are wrong, right? That they are not, that you shouldn't use them, but um, they do not accomplish the requirements of the criteria that we have here, okay? So let's analyze it. Is meaning primary here? Not really. We're focusing here more on grammar rather than a task in a real life situation. Is there a communicative problem that needs to be solved? Think about it. Is there a communicative problem that needs to be solved? What do you think? Here we're just repeating, actually, right? What the book says or the activity says. Then, is there a link with the real world task? Do we talk like this in a real life situation? Like, not really, right? It sounds like a conversation for robots. And then, um, is the task assessed in terms of outcomes? Okay, think about it. You can also answer here in the box of comments. All right. Okay. So from now on, this is the criteria I want you to have for you to analyze the tasks that you are given to your students if you get to use task-based learning, okay? So if you accomplish at least 3 of the elements that we have here in this criteria, then the task is uh, right for a task-based learning class, okay? Right now, over here, I have some examples of tasks that can be done because they already passed the test through the criteria that I just present you, okay? So for example, in number 1, it says write a letter, right? So remember that task-based learning is based on the 4 skills. So we have here as an activity, write a letter, okay? Then it says, make a reservation, that's another one. Plan a trip is the other one, and attending an interview or meeting. And the last one is applying for a job. Now let's analyze if they accomplish the criteria, okay? So for example, attending an interview. Is meaning primary here? You can answer in the box of comments over here and let me know what you think. Is meaning primary here? Is there a communicative problem that needs to be solved? Is there a link with a real world task? And the last one, is the task assessed in terms of outcomes? And of course, the task itself just said like an interview, right? But now, okay, now this one, the attending an interview, we're gonna make it into a class following the 3 steps of task-based learning. Okay, the number 1 will be the pre-task, then we have the task cycle, and then we have the post-task. Now that I know that these tasks over here, they go with my criteria, I can make a class out of it, okay? So pre-task, task cycle, and post-tasks, those are the 3 steps that you need to follow in order to have a task-based learning class. So a pre-task, what do we do here? Well, first we raise consciousness, introduction of task, And we use pictures, posters, and demonstrations, okay? So here we start telling our students what we're going to be talking about, right? So we raise awareness of the topic, right? So one example of a task that can be done over here is that you show this picture, okay? You have it, you show it there with your students, and then you start asking them, hey, what can you see here? What are they doing, right? And they start brainstorming some ideas. You write them on the board, right? That could be one activity for the pre-task. The other one that I have here is to watch a video, okay? So they watch a video where two women are having, well, just one is having the interview and the other one is interviewing her, okay? So that's the second pre-task that you do. You show them the video, and something very important over here is that in TVL, the learner should be exposed to as much of the foreign language as possible in order to merely observe the foreign language. So it's better if you look for a video um, where the two of them are American, so that they can listen to an accurate pronunciation, and so they can get exposed to it, okay? So the first activity, you show them the picture and they start brainstorming of what these two women are doing here. And then you show them a picture where one lady is interviewing the other one, all right? So these two are for the pre-task. Remember, here is where students are raising awareness of what they are going to be talking about, all right? Now the task cycle. This one is number 2, and it's very important because here's where students are going to be sharing and actually using the target language that they just saw in the first activity, okay? And then activities like pair work and group work also work here. Um, they're good if they are in pairs or if they are in groups. Okay, so one activity could be that they write the questions they listen to in the video. So they're going to be watching the video and writing the questions that they can listen that the interviewer is doing, okay? So they start writing, and also they can write also the answers, right? Both of it. As you can see in the picture, they are in pairs, right? They can also do it individually, okay? And then you ask them to compare their answers with a different person or a different partner. So they go, they compare, and here this is very important because they can get more phrases, or they can get more questions if they couldn't. Imagine they just got 3. By going with a different partner, they can get more, all right? Then prepare questions to interview. That will be the main task over here. Now, you can personalize it depending on your student's level. For example, over here, I wrote to get a scholarship. They can make an interview where they are requiring a scholarship or a job interview, right? It will depend on the level of your students, but this is the kind of task that they can do. Remember that it has to be something meaningful for them, right? And the task here will be to choose a person to interview, all right? Over here, as a teacher, you need to have the environment so that they can feel that they are really going into an interview, right? not having them next to each other, but in front of each other, right? And that they can be like, serious because it's an interview. So let them feel the environment so they can know and feel that they are going through an interview. Now, as you may see here, this is a lot of student center, right? So students working. And what is the role of the teacher? What is the teacher doing here? Oh, probably sitting and checking the homework, right? Not really. Over here, the teacher has a very, very important task, okay? So now you will discover why the teacher has a very important task in the post task. The post task is for selecting, identifying, and classifying common words, practice of language and phrases in classroom, building personal dictionaries. Probably for some of you, this will be like mind-blowing, and I'm going to explain you why. So over here, as you can see, teacher is taking notes of grammar mistakes, vocabulary that probably one student pronounced it in the wrong way, so she's listening, observing, monitoring, and taking notes, right? And at the end, the teacher will be in charge of correcting students, right? So that's why I'm telling you, this could be like mind-blowing because of course we are used to teach at the beginning, right? We provide the grammar, vocabulary, and everything that students will do so that they can use it. But in task-based learning, the teacher is doing it at the end of everything, okay? And that's why monitoring, observing, and taking notes will be very important so that at the end, you will see your students' needs and to see where they had some mistakes, and you will be correcting them and helping them, right? Okay, so you're gonna have some time to process the information. I know it's kind of a lot, but this is one of my favorite approaches, as I told you before, because it's totally different from the traditional ones, right? Here you're not teaching at the beginning and then they do a task and then the fluently use or it's a different structure. So at the end, the teacher is where you go and you take part of the class. But most of the time here, students are the ones working with the English that they already have, but with some help, right? Over here, for example, we use video in order for them to take some phrases from it. But also when they do the main task, which is interviewing another student, there you will notice that they didn't just take the phrases or vocabulary from the video, but also they include something that they knew already, right? Okay. So it was kind of the activities that they were doing. So remember, teacher at the end. Now, we're gonna watch over here a video of another task-based learning so that you can have more ideas or another idea on how to work on task-based learning. Okay.
A great way to practice conversation skills is to have students collaborate to solve a problem or complete an assigned task. Today, I'll show you one of my favorite task-based activities in which students have to work together to create a utopian society. In task-based learning, students have to complete a task either individually or in groups. Today, my students will be in groups, so we would call this consensus building. They're going to work together to design their own ideal societies. I'll begin by eliciting some social problems in the U.S. and the students' home countries and write them on the board. This will get them thinking about things in society they would like to change and prepare them for the task ahead. I downloaded a blank map from the internet and I'm going to tell my students that they have an uninhabited island on which they can create their own perfect country. They have to decide where they will build things such as the airport, school, bank, etc., and draw them on the map. I've also prepared a list of things they should decide while they work, such as the name of the country, what laws they have, how people dress, customs, holidays, etc. I want to encourage as much detail as possible. When they're finished, I'll have each group make a short presentation on their utopia to the class. Then we'll discuss whose utopian society would work best. Throughout the activity, I'll be listening carefully and making note of some of the mistakes my students make, then address them at the end of class. So, is the United States of America a good country to live in? Nancy, what do you think?
Yes, I think so. Compared to Mexico, it's kind of quiet.
It's quiet, okay,
Yeah.
very good. And Abdul, what do you think?
But sometimes I hear about crimes.
Crimes, very good. Okay, so all countries have social problems, right? Crime is one of them. Very good. What are some other social problems?
Poverty?
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 Yeah, poverty, very good.
Teenage pregnancy.
Teenage pregnancy, okay, definitely, that's going on. And I'm sorry, who said the other answer? Alberto?
Delinquency.
Delinquency, okay. Delinquency is kind of similar to crime.
Pollution?
Pollution, big problem right now, right? Very good, okay. So Anna, tell me, you are from what country?
Chile.
Chile. In Chile, do you have any of these types of problems?
All of that?
All of them. Any other problems that's specific?
I think all the world is the same, really.
Very good.
That are the principal problem for me in my country.
Okay, great. Well, every country obviously has social problems, but today what we are going to do is we are going to have the opportunity to create our perfect society. And what do you think that is called? If you had a perfect country, a perfect place.
A magic world?
A magic world, very good. Fantasy. If there were a perfect place, a dream world, this would actually be called Utopia. You guys have heard that? So what we are going to do is we're going to go and split up into groups, and you guys are going to create your own utopia, your own island. Okay. You will also have a worksheet that will give you some examples of what you can put in your utopia. For example, what is going to be the name of your country? What are going to be 5 laws, regulations that you will have in your country? Okay, so here's the worksheet. You also have to draw, I know, creativity. Things like banks, hotels, beaches.
Nice.
It's gonna be fun, right? So use your creative juices to think of your perfect world. Okay, so Wei Chong and Abdul, I'll have you be one group. Alberto and Anna.
We don't have to say that. I don't know exactly.
Money. Does money make you happy? Very good. Yeah.
The capital? What do you
Why
think?
don't you use more sugar?
That's a forest. Okay. Okay. Great.
What is celebrated tradition?
Nice and easy.
Yeah, nice.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
River?
Okay.
Everyone?
What about?
Yeah.
You already had the 1 week, right? The 1 week.
Yes,
Yeah.
for independence.
Oh, that's
we have a
yes.
carnival in the
Yeah.
summer.
Oh,
In the
okay.
summer,
Okay.
Yes. Yes. But,
What about?
Okay, guys, everybody ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so now what we are going to do is each group is going to come up and present their own utopia, their perfect society.
This is our perfect society. The name of the island is Paradise.
Our country name is Kingdom of Dreams Island.
The name of our city is Happy Land.
Only the transportation is vehicle, no motor.
No motor.
No
So
motor.
do they have cars?
Only
but-
bicycle, walking, or the other transportation, no motor.
5,000 people lives in this island.
5,000?
Yeah, only 5,000.
Wow, very limited.
We have the perfect weather. Always no cold, no too hot.
Does it rain or only sunny?
No, just sunny.
Oh.
All the people speak only Spanish.
Every day is a holiday.
Every day. Every day.
People do not work. There is no work.
And no government.
No
Some
government.
leaders.
Oh my.
Some
And
groups.
people are okay with this? There's no crime?
Yeah, because they grow up without government. They live without.
Okay, all right, excellent. I think my students were really creative with this activity, and they got a lot of conversation practice and even learned some new vocabulary. Task-based learning not only strengthens general speaking skills, but can also be adapted to specific language points, such as phrases or verb tenses. For example, you could give students a murder mystery to solve, so they have to use past tense to deduce what happened. There are many task-based activities online, but you can easily design your own. Don't forget to provide students with some guidelines beforehand so that there is a structure to the activity and it doesn't turn into a free-for-all.
Want more videos like this one?
Something very important over here, as she said in the video, the teacher said in the video, is that you need to provide the students with guidelines. Remember, every time you are teaching with a new approach, with a new method, you need to always give them a guidance, right? Because it's as new as for you and also for them too, okay? So, so that they cannot get lost on it if they are not usually going into student-centered activities, and they need also to adapt themselves, okay? So we're gonna go through another activity over here, and as you can see here, the teacher is going to take the activities and tasks from a book, all right? So I think that most of you plan from a book, so it will be interesting, okay? So let's start it from here. Free tasks.
with a wide range. The structure of the video follows 4 mentally and linguistically. Let's get started. Step 1 is the pre-task. The pre-task stage should mentally and linguistically prepare your students for the upcoming task ahead. There are many ways to do this. In this demo, I show you 3 ideas.
Okay, what makes a good party? Jorge? Okay, Food.
Idea number 1 would be the use of brainstorming with a word web.
Okay, in your groups, I want you to keep going, okay? Keep going. What do you think? What are some things that make a good party?
Brainstorm idea number 2 would be the use of pictures and/or discussion questions.
Okay, let's take a look at picture number 1. What are they doing? Good, all right? They are ordering, all right? They're ordering food for the party. Good. Another one.
And perhaps the most common activity would be idea number 3, having your students read or listen to a model text that mimics the language they will use in the task ahead.
Look at the picture of the people. What do you think we're going to listen to? Yes, all right? We're going to listen to them plan a surprise party. Good, good.
In stage 2, you will prepare your students to be able to complete the upcoming task on their own. In order to do this, you need to give very clear directions. I commonly give each group 1 piece of paper with a step-by-step handout or a checklist for them to follow.
First, I want everyone to get into groups of 3. All right, first get into your groups. You're going to follow the handout. And then after, give us maybe 10-15 minutes. Okay, you're going to present your party idea to the class. Are you guys excited? All right, it's going to be fun. Let's get started.
In this important stage, students begin to independently build their task. Group collaboration and creativity take hold, and generally it's the fun and exciting part of the task. I quietly circulate around the room and make note of any weak or strong language features on a clipboard. Make sure that you encourage use of the target language. After this, the students will then act or present out their tasks. It's the point where I hope they proudly display their creativity and stretch their language abilities in doing so. As a teacher, I continue to remain low-key and continue to quietly take notes on the language being used. It's a fluency activity, so I don't commonly interrupt unless asked for help. If set up well, the stage is fun and engaging for everyone. When I'm done, my clipboard is often covered. To keep me organized, I take notes into categories. Only the most important language features get addressed. Always point out both strong and weak language features. To complete the activity, I address those key language features on the board with the class, and we reflect on the language we've learned through completing the task. This concludes my demo video. Please note there are many ways to execute.
All right, nice. Okay, so you had the chance to see these 2 teachers applying task-based learning. Something important I might tell you is that this approach is not new, but they are always innovating it. So if you go and you make a research about it, you will find in some places that it's kind of different, okay? But it's because they are always innovating this approach, right? So, right. So we're gonna continue. Okay. Right. So it's says, teaching does not and cannot determine the way the learner's language will develop, and that teachers and learners cannot simply choose what is to be learned. This means that we as teachers must accept that we cannot control what each individual learner has learned. So I want you to keep this in mind because as I told you before, teaching at the end, the grammar point that you're supposed to give at the beginning probably could be a mind-blowing for some of you teachers. And if you're not used to innovate, I really encourage you to do so, right? So right now we're gonna go through an activity and you're gonna do it, you're gonna write it down in the box of comments. Think about your next class, your next lesson, and write in the comments how, in the box of comments, how task-based learning could help you. Okay, so think about the topic, all right, and how task-based learning approach can help you to work on it. Okay, so you can write over there any activity, a task, something that you would like to apply from this presentation could be, but following, you know, the three main tasks: pre-task, task cycle, and the post task. All right, so I'll be reading some of you, so if you can please start by writing down. Think about the topic, the lesson, and how task-based learning can help you out, right? Okay, let's see. All right. Okay, so it says it can help me be organized, and have students working in an organized way. Okay. So for the next class, I will use TBL for my students to describe their likes and dislikes as if they were YouTubers. Very nice. Here, making videos is a great way. If any coordinator or principal is watching us right now, I'll ask you to please let your teachers or your students to use cell phones or technology in class. You know, it can be very helpful doing videos and using it. Okay, so TBL will help us to make our classes attractive, and then also will help us to know better our students' learning skills. Thank you, Maria Romelia Ramirez. Great. Okay, it can be used to make student engage in the topic. Thank you, Wesley. Great. Okay, it can help students to practice vocabulary in a real situation, in a real life situation, not only grammar. Okay. to have meaningful classes and make them attractive and relevant for students. So remember, look for activities or tasks that resemble real life situations so that it can be meaningful for your students. Right? Okay, so here we have a topic already, which is the future. I will ask my students to use will for predictions by creating a future world. What about that? That's great. Predict and discuss a lot. Yeah, task-based learning gives your students the chance to communicate, and yeah, a lot of discussion here. Wow, Karina. What about creating a situation about possible scenarios after the pandemic? Very good. Okay, and Abigail Galicia, I'm sure this will help me to encourage my students to talk more during the class. One of the biggest problems for us as teachers is when students are afraid of using the language. So over here, it can be a great way to encourage your students to actually use what they know. Okay, I will tell my students to create a new video game using their creativity. Thank you, Diana Huertas. Graciela Mendizábal. I will ask the students to create their own movie so they have to brainstorm, then write an outline, the dialogues, assign roles, and then act it out, which will be the speaking part. Excellent. Yeah, in the pre-test, you can present them, show them a video so that they can take it as a reference. Okay, Maria Romela Ramirez, I asked my students to prepare a job interview and to help develop through Zoom, and it really works to strengthen their pronunciation by online classes. Excellent. Josie Alvarez, teach the topic, be used to making a presentation about their habits in pairs like strangers. Paula Galicia, I asked my students to create a presentation and be ready to answer questions about it. I'm very glad that you are already thinking of how to use and how to apply task-based learning in your classes. Believe me, this is a great way to start and to innovate your classes. It can be done in an online class with no problem. Of course, you need to do some adaptations to it, but it really encourages students to speak. Okay. Wow. Great ideas over here. Okay, TBL will help us to make our classes attractive, and it also will help us to know better our students' learning. Okay, perfect. Right. Okay, so I'd like to close this session with this phrase that I really like it, this quote. And I think that it perfectly matches the session of today. Okay, so we have over here, tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. It was said by Benjamin Franklin. I really appreciate your time and thank you for being here today. This was the session of task-based learning. My host will be sharing with you this link, which is a Google Forms for you to help me out with some feedback, any comment that you would like to add, and you'll have it there for you. I really, really encourage you to use task-based learning, and not only this, but everything that you have learned through this TTS, the online TTS. So take advantage of everything that you have learned and start applying it. So thank you. Thank you so much and have a great afternoon.
All right, great. Thank you, Abby, for this great presentation. We learned a lot, okay? And now we have this tool to work with our students. And I have some questions that I would like to share with you that we have from the viewers. And the number one question says, do you recommend TVL to be used with young learners or beginners? When do you recommend to start using TVL?
That's a great question. And yeah, of course, it can be done in, any level. It does not matter if your students, the level of your students, neither the age of it. But of course, the tasks and activities, they must be done according to their age and interest so that they are able to work on them and enjoy them, right? We don't want them to have a hard time. But yeah, it can be done in any age or level.
All right, good. And another viewer says, it asks, how can we use this TVL in online teaching? Can you give us an example?
Right. I think that everything must be adapted, right? You can ask them to do half of the task. They can do it at home, and then they just go and present that. As I told you, it can be work in pairs, right? And also Zoom, they have an option where you can divide the groups. So that will be a great option that you use it if you want them to work in groups. Now it can be also work individually. So you ask them to do half of the things at home, and they just bring it to present it to you, right? But yeah, the pre-task, you raise awareness by presenting something related to the topic, and then in the task cycle, yeah, it can be work in an online or at home as well. If well, it also depends on the time, right, or topic.
Okay, good. I think you answered this question, but I think, can you use TVL with other frameworks, like combining IT with ECRIF or PDP?
Yeah, PDP. Yeah, of course. You can do a mix of it, right? And if you have the time to do it, try it out. I mean, teaching is all about trying and see what works for you, what works for you as a teacher, and also for your students, right?
Right. Thank you, Abby. Appreciate those answers. And what about these questions? This question: how can we use this TVL in online teaching? Yeah, this is already done. Do you recommend TVL to be used with John? Yeah, also to. Yeah, I think these are the questions from viewers. I am just checking out the chat just to make sure no question missing. Okay, and I see no other questions, but great. And I just want to recommend our viewers for tomorrow to come and enjoy another conference that will be very helpful applying to our classes. And before we finish, I just recommend you to fill in the link, open the link to fill in the assistance that you were attending this conference. You will see this link has been sent, okay, already, and it will be open for 10 minutes, okay? So just fill in and we will be very glad. We will appreciate that you do that, okay? And before we finish, I would like to ask Abigail if she has some words, final words to finish to viewers.
Yeah, of course. Please apply everything that you've learned. I really encourage you to do it. Do not stay in the traditional method and the same activities and tasks, but apply it all. And thank you for investing your time in these sessions. I'm pretty sure your students appreciate it a lot.
All right, thank you, Abigail, one more time. Thank you, all of you participants in this forum, in this conference, and we will see you tomorrow, okay? God bless you. Have a great time, and bye-bye.